By the time the clock crept toward 9 in the morning, the pounding on my front door sounded like someone was trying to punch straight through the wood. Each slam vibrated in my chest, rattling the air, shaking the quiet I'd fought so hard to protect. Behind me, Sophie stood barefoot on the hallway tiles, still in her pastel pajamas, clutching the small watercolor painting she'd made for Christmas, a sunset, with stick figures holding hands. But scenes like this never begin with yelling. They start slowly, with one careless message, one tiny fracture, one decision that quietly resets your entire world. Mine began the moment my mother texted, "We're skipping your kid's birthday. Things are tight." 9 words. 9 casual, dismissive words. And they set off a chain reaction my family never imagined would end with the truth unraveling in my hands. Before I go on, tell me where you're listening from, just so I know I'm not standing in this storm alone. My name is Rowan, and I've spent most of my life surviving by lowering my expectations, especially when it came to the 2 people who taught me early that disappointment wasn't an accident, it was a rhythm in our home. I was the reliable one, the quiet one, the fixer who patched holes they pretended not to make. And when you grow up like that, you learn to swallow hurt the way other people swallow breakfast, quick, practiced, unnoticed. I rent a small apartment near the old lighthouse on our coast. The air there always carries a strange blend of sea salt and the faint sweetness of pine trees. It isn't fancy, but it's bright, warm, lived in. A place that feels like mine. Just enough space for me and my daughter, Sophie, who fills the rooms with paintbrushes, glitter trails, and her soft humming, this gentle sound she makes when she's focused, like her imagination has its own melody. The morning the text arrived, she was sitting at the table coloring a fox in a purple dress. She looked up with these wide brown eyes, hopeful, trusting, too pure for the world she was about to face. "Do you think Grandma and Grandpa will come to my birthday this year?" "I hope so," I told her. Even though hope and history aren't usually friends. I was slicing strawberries when my phone buzzed. I wiped my hands on a towel, glanced down, and there it was. "We're skipping your kid's birthday. Things are tight." Not even Sophie's name. Not even punctuation. Just a cold little sentence tossed at me like a receipt from a store they didn't want to shop in. I stared at the message for a long beat, trying to keep my breath steady so Sophie wouldn't see the shift in my face. Then I typed, "No problem," even though it was. For her. For me. The rest of that day, I moved through each moment with this silent, heavy ache pressing beneath my ribs. I helped Sophie glue glitter around her drawing. I sent work emails. I pretended I was fine. But the truth kept circling back. Maybe they were struggling financially. Maybe something came up. Except I knew better. I remembered the phone bills I covered for 2 years straight when my father forgot to pay them. The insurance I paid so they wouldn't lose their car. The repairs, the emergencies, the late-night transfers that were always urgent until I needed something. My parents preached family loyalty only when they were the ones asking, never when giving. Sophie's birthday arrived that weekend. She twirled around in a soft lavender dress and insisted we bake cupcakes instead of buying a cake. I spread a picnic blanket across the living room floor because rain slapped angrily against the windows. We played music. We opened the small gifts I'd saved months for. Her 2 friends came over, and she laughed like laughter was something she had an endless supply of. But after they left, and the house settled into quiet again, Sophie walked to the table, picked up a cupcake, stared at the tiny candle I had saved for her. "Maybe next year," she whispered. She didn't cry. She just gathered the glitter and toys and hummed to herself the way she does when she doesn't want me to worry. Something in me shifted that night, nothing dramatic, just a quiet, sharp ache that settled into place like a decision waiting to be made. Christmas arrived faster than I expected. Sophie woke up early wearing her red pajamas, clutching the painting she had made for my parents. 2 grandparents holding hands with a little girl between them. She'd even drawn a little gold heart above their heads. She sat by the window, watching, waiting, humming her quiet melody. I made cocoa. I checked my phone. I pretended I wasn't checking. Noon passed. Then 2. Then 3. No call. No text. Not even an accidental emoji. Just silence, that familiar, suffocating kind. "Maybe they're busy," I said gently. She nodded, but her shoulders fell in that small, defeated way children do when hope dissolves in their hands. When she finally drifted off to watch a movie, I opened my laptop. I wish I hadn't. Some part of me already knew I shouldn't. But habit is a stubborn creature. The screen lit up, and the first thing I saw was a photograph so bright it almost hurt. A massive Christmas tree that nearly touched the ceiling. Towering balloon arches. Piles of glitter-wrapped gifts spilling across their living room floor. My sister's kids ripping open presents with delighted screams. And there, standing in the background, my mother holding a gold box, smiling like she'd stepped into a catalog. Her caption sat above it like a bruise. "So blessed to be with our favorite little ones." Favorite. That single word landed like a punch to my chest. Casual, careless, true. I didn't hear Sophie walk up behind me until her small hand touched my arm. She saw the screen, saw the balloons, the joy, the family she wasn't part of. "They forgot me again, right?" she whispered. Her voice was so soft it cracked something inside me. I wrapped my arms around her, but she stayed still, staring at the bright, happy faces on the screen, faces that couldn't spare her a message, let alone love. That night, after she fell asleep beside me, I sat alone in the dim hallway light, drowning in a silence that felt like the echo of every year I'd spent giving more than I ever received. And that was when everything aligned. Not broken. Aligned. A clean, unwavering line between what I'd allowed all my life and what I would no longer accept. The morning after Christmas, I woke up with a calm so sharp it almost frightened me. Sophie was curled up with the navy and gold painting she'd made, colors smudged together like the feelings she wasn't ready to speak aloud. I tucked her in gently. Then I turned on my laptop. Not for emails. Not for excuses. Not to justify their absence. I opened the Payments tab. Years of automatic transfers glowed on the screen. Phone bill, insurance, car repairs, small monthly emergency deposits. A silent record of every time I chose their stability over my own. My fingers hovered only for a moment. Not out of fear. Out of recognition. I clicked cancel on the first one. Then the next. Then the next. A chain reaction of freedom. No dramatic shaking. No tears. Just a quiet, steady liberation. By sunrise, every single thing they relied on me for was gone. Not out of revenge. Out of protection for me and for Sophie. Because if they couldn't show up for a child who loved them with her entire heart, they didn't deserve to live off mine. Around mid-morning, my phone buzzed. Not my parents, of course not. It was my sister, Mia. "Rowan." Dad's freaking out. Mom's crying. Everything got shut off. Did you do something?" Her voice didn't accuse me. It was tired, worn, the voice of someone who had been carrying her own versions of these burdens. "I'm just done," I said. "That's all." There was a long silence. Then a soft, almost relieved, "Good." And for the first time in years, I let myself breathe. The next morning, the light slipping through the thin curtains painted gentle lines across the room, and for a moment Daniel forgot everything, forgot the conversation, the tension, the ache he'd carried for years. He opened his eyes and found Lily curled against his chest, breathing softly, her small hand gripping his shirt as if afraid he would vanish in her sleep. He felt something break open inside him again, but this time it wasn't pain, it was longing. Longing for this to be normal, not temporary. Longing for mornings that didn't feel borrowed. He kissed the top of her head, careful not to wake her. He just wanted a few more seconds of holding her without thinking about courts, or his past mistakes, or the war between him and Ava. But peace never lasted long around him. He wasn't used to it. A soft knock at the door made him sigh. Mark peeked in, eyebrows raised. "She's still asleep?" Daniel nodded. Mark stepped inside, keeping his voice low. Ava texted, "She wants to talk before you two leave today." The breath left Daniel's body. So it was time. He looked down at Lily again, her hair messy, her face relaxed, unaware of anything except comfort. "Do you think she's going to take her away?" Daniel whispered. Mark didn't sugarcoat things he never had. "I think she's scared. And people who are scared make decisions they don't always mean." Daniel swallowed. "That's not an answer." Mark sat on the edge of the bed. "Look, man, you messed up years ago, but you're not that guy anymore. She saw it yesterday. Anyone with eyes could see how much Lily loves you. Ava isn't cruel. She's conflicted. Conflicted. That word didn't ease Daniel at all. Lily stirred, blinking awake. When she realized she was still in her father's arms, she smiled sleepily. "You didn't leave," she murmured. Daniel felt the words land heavily in his chest. Never. Her small trust felt too big, too fragile to hold. He brushed her hair away from her face. "We're going to see Mommy today, okay?" She nodded, then looked at him as if checking his reaction. "Are you sad?" "A little," he admitted. "I'll hold your hand," she said simply. He almost laughed, almost cried, but he just kissed her forehead and said, "Thank you." They ate breakfast together, pancakes that were slightly burnt because Lily insisted she could flip them herself, and Daniel didn't have the heart to stop her. Afterward, they packed her little backpack, and every item she placed inside felt like a countdown. Her drawing, her stuffed owl, her tiny pink hairbrush. By the time they got into the car, Daniel felt like someone was tightening a rope around his chest. Lily kicked her feet happily in the back seat, humming to herself. He wanted to freeze the moment. Just stop time. Sit in that parking lot forever if it meant she wouldn't be taken away again. But time didn't care what he wanted. Ava was waiting outside the cafe when they arrived. She wore a light sweater and sunglasses, her arms folded tightly across her body. When she saw Lily jump out of the car and run to her, her expression softened immediately, maternal instinct overriding everything else. But when she looked at Daniel, that softness disappeared. "Let's talk," she said quietly. Lily tugged on her mother's hand. "Can Daddy come too?" Ava hesitated. Daniel felt his throat tighten. "Yes," she finally said. They sat at a small outdoor table. Lily busied herself drawing on a napkin with crayons Daniel had brought. Her presence kept the tension from snapping completely, but Ava's voice was clipped, cautious, like she was afraid of breaking something delicate. "You know, I didn't expect yesterday," she began. "I didn't expect her to cling to you like that." Daniel didn't trust himself to speak, so he stayed quiet. Ava looked down at her hands. "You disappeared, Daniel. I know you think you had no choice, but I raised her alone. I did all of it alone. The nights, the sicknesses, the first steps, you missed everything." "I know," he said softly. "And the truth is, I was angry. For a very long time. Angry because she asked about you every birthday. Angry because she drew pictures of a dad she didn't know. Angry because I kept saying you'd come back, and I didn't know if I was lying." Daniel felt every word like a stone thrown at him, but he didn't defend himself. He had no right to. Ava took a breath. "But yesterday, when she looked at you, I didn't see a stranger. I saw someone she belonged to." His eyes burned. He blinked hard. "I'm scared," Ava whispered. "I'm scared you'll come into her life and then leave again." Daniel leaned forward. "I won't. You said that once before. I was a different person then." Ava studied him, searching for lies, for cracks, for anything that would tell her she was right to keep him away. "What do you want?" she asked. Daniel didn't hesitate. "Time with her. Real time. Not a few supervised hours. I want to be her father." Lily looked up at the word father, smiling. Ava looked at her daughter, then at him. "If I give you this chance, you have to understand what it means. You don't get to disappear. You don't get to break her. If she gets attached and you walk away, I will never forgive you." "I'm not walking away," he said. Silence settled between them, heavy, uncertain. "Okay," Ava whispered. "Then we try." Daniel exhaled shakily. He hadn't realized he'd been holding his breath. "But slowly," she added. "Weekends first. Calls every night you can. And if you miss even one without a real reason, I'm stopping everything. Do you understand?" "Yes," he said. Lily reached across the table and held both their hands, proud of herself for bringing peace she didn't fully understand. "Can we all get ice cream?" she asked. Ava smiled a little, then nodded. "Sure." They walked together down the sidewalk, Lily skipping between them, holding both their hands like she was stitching two worlds back together. Daniel didn't dare let go. He kept glancing at Ava, who kept glancing at him, and though neither spoke, something faint and hesitant grew in the quiet trust. Maybe, or the beginning of it. Lily picked mint chocolate chip, Ava got vanilla, Daniel got strawberry. Lily insisted on tasting all three before deciding hers was the best. As they walked, Daniel noticed people probably saw them as a family, a normal one, a whole one. The image hurt and healed him at the same time. When it was finally time to part ways, Lily clung to Daniel's neck again. But this time she didn't cry. She whispered, "You'll call me tonight?" "I will," he said. "And next weekend we can go to the park?" "Every weekend you want." She smiled and kissed his cheek before hopping into Ava's car. Ava lingered for a moment. "Don't prove me wrong, Daniel." "I won't." She nodded, then drove away. Daniel watched their car disappear, feeling both gutted and reborn. Mark stepped beside him, hands in his pockets. "So?" he asked. Daniel exhaled, tears finally falling. "She's giving me a chance." Mark squeezed his shoulder. "Then don't waste it." Daniel nodded, wiping his eyes. "I won't." He didn't know how the future would unfold. He didn't know if Ava would ever forgive him fully, or if Lily would ever understand the years he missed. But he knew one thing with absolute certainty. He wasn't leaving again. Not now. Not ever. And for the first time in years, that promise didn't feel like a hope. It felt like the truth.